this week's video is all about debunking the myth that surrounds potty training. And that myth is, or one of the myths is, that I'm going to debunk today, is that your child will tell you when they're ready to potty train. Now, if I was back in 1974, as my mum was when she potty trained me when I was 2 years old, I would absolutely be expecting my 2-year-old child to show me some signs that they want to potty train. And that's because around the age of 2, your child is learning lots of new communication skills and they're learning to assert themselves. And that's a major milestone in their development. Now, back in 1974, and I remember this, and I have somewhere locked in my brain a traumatic memory of terry toweling nappies, because the terry toweling nappies my mum used on me were literally folded up bits of cloth and you had rubber pants that went on top. And I don't remember me being potty trained, but I remember my sister being potty trained because I'm 3 years older than her. And I remember the rubber nappies, the rubber pants, and I remember the uncomfortable feeling I got. And even now, I just know they were uncomfortable and cut into me. And I remember looking at the rubber and the elastic peeling away from the rubber and it cutting into my sister. And I must have somehow, back in my brain, remembered that feeling on me. And what I'm trying to say is, those nappies back in 1974 were just folded up bits of towel. They were wet, they were soggy. I remember the tubs of nappy rash cream in the bathroom, and then you had these rubber knickers that went over the top. Now, for a 2-year-old child who's learning to say no and control a little bit of their environment, they're not going to want that nappy on. Trust me, the chances are you were looking for your child to start tugging at the nappy or refusing to have the nappy on because they were deeply uncomfortable. Or super motivated mom who was sick of doing all the washing, not in the nice modern washing machines, but my mom used to drag her twin tub into the kitchen and spend all day with pipes coming out the sink and God knows what. Mom might have instigated potty training. The chances are that the minute that lovely dry pair of cotton pants went on the 2-year-old, they would have instantly seen the benefits and been much more motivated to potty train. So you had mum super motivated, desperate to get rid of all the washables, and you had a child who was deeply uncomfortable and learning to physically control some of their environment and maybe verbally even say no. Now, that's not going to happen these days. It's very rare that happens because nappies are so brilliantly designed and dry and thin and portable, and the new pull-up styles that have been going for ages, not the pull-up potty training nappies that don't potty train, by the way, but that pull-up style is, as soon as your child toddles, you can buy those from the supermarket and they're great. They make nappy changing really easy. So potty training is just really hard work for mums. Actually, it's harder work to potty train than it is to keep them in nappies, whereas in the olden days it was horrible being in nappies and you were desperate to potty train your child. So there's a complete reversal in what happens to us as parents. And we're juggling, we've got childcare and we've probably got our kids in 4 or 5 different places over the week, school, nursery, childminders, with us, with dad, who knows. And so it's a minefield potty training. You've got to try and get your child through this, give them attention and focus, and the world's and your jobs and everything else are all getting in the way, which is really difficult to manage. And then you've got a child who is just so super dry and not motivated to potty train at all. Now, some of you have written on my group and said that you've got children who are interested. If you've got a child that comes to you, whatever the age, my advice to you is go for it. Even if your child's really quite young, just make sure you reward that behaviour, even if you're not going to throw the nappy away immediately. Because a child that's interested, who doesn't get rewarded for the right behaviour, is not really going to be motivated when it's done on your terms and in your time frame, maybe in 6 months' time. So if you have a child, even if you think they're too young, who's showing an interest, reward that behaviour and encourage that carrying on, even if you don't completely go for the full-on potty training. So back to why you can't rely on your child. So it's just now not a guaranteed option to wait for your child around the age of 2 to object to nappies. And the chances are when you start to potty train, they're actually going to object to the potty training because it is, without a doubt, way more hard work than wearing those lovely dry nappies. And it involves just way more effort, and it's not motivating for you. It's just much easier for you to just go, oh God, and stick another nappy back on, or, not get them to help you clean up because you just need to get on to the next thing. So potty training is not easy. It's not the out it was 40 years ago for mum or for child. It's not going to make your child, the majority of children wear disposable nappies, like 95 to 97% of parents use disposable nappies. So that means the majority of people I'm speaking to have got children who are not going to know the benefits of getting out of a nappy. As far as they're concerned, they're doing their job. They can poo in them, wee in them, they feel nice and dry, they can carry on, and at some point you'll change them. And it's not like wearing a really soggy terry-tang nappies. Even washable nappies these days are so beautifully designed that they don't even give your child quite that level of wetness and discomfort that they did back in 1974. So that's why it's not reliable. It's not that I don't believe in child-led parenting. It's not that I don't think your child, it's not that I don't think it wouldn't be great if your child told you they were ready to potty train. It's that it's not reliable anymore. And if you wait till your child is older, a child who's 3 or above has learned even more skills to assert themselves. And if they don't fancy the idea of potty training when you come to do it, then you can have a major battle on your hands. And if you read down the thread, you'll see some of that has happened. And sometimes your child will be around the age of 3 when you potty train, because you're waiting for physical dexterity and communication skills. But that doesn't mean they're not looking and taking everything in the intervening year between 2 and 3, and that when they are able to communicate, they're not able to do it at a more sophisticated level. As the child gets older, they're going to find more ways to get around doing something difficult, because that's human nature. You know, you can, if you want to look at it another way, the harder they are at potty training, the clever they are at manipulating their environment. And they're probably learning some skills that at some point in the future are going to put them in good stead. It's just not going to help you in the here and now. So don't despair. Your child's, it's not the potty Olympics. You know, my big thing that I say to people is I've never heard of anyone being asked at university what age they potty trained as a measure of their IQ. It doesn't matter if your next door neighbour's child trained at 18 months and you trained your child at 3. But what I would say is don't expect your child to say, "Mummy, come and potty train me," because if you wait for that, then you might miss the optimum time to train. A little final piece of evidence is that disposable nappies were introduced in 1961, and the age of potty training has gone since that introduction from the average age of 2, which is because that's when children start to assert themselves and are able to communicate their discomfort, and it's now over the age of 3 and rising. And potty training not only is happening later, but it's also lasting longer. So, you know, the disposable nappy has many benefits. You know, bizarrely, despite the fact that most of us are dismayed at what it does for the environment, it is still the most used form of incontinence, if you like, products for children. You know, 95 to 97% of parents are using disposable nappies, and so therefore that is what we have to assume. And as I say, even washables are designed so brilliantly that the children are not going to get that dry and comfortable feeling, and those horrible rubber knickers that I had to wear back when I was traumatised with my potty training in 1974. That's it. It's not that you're wrong, it's just that, you know, the products around are too good and they're just not going to allow that to happen, which you might have done for your parents or grandparents. So there you go. I hope that was helpful and useful. Potty training is a learned and taught skill. You have to intervene to teach your child how to do it, and ultimately you have to be ready. But you have to make the decision and just take a call at some point. Often there are very few signs. You just have to make a decision to go for it. And if your child does, if you're one of the lucky ones and they're showing an interest because they've copied someone at nursery, there's a potty out, and they're shown an interest, they've seen a sibling do it, or they just are genuinely uncomfortable, which is rare, but it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Then go for it, because an interested and motivated child is definitely going to be easier to potty train than one that isn't. And if you don't reward the motivation, when you come to do it on your terms, on your schedule, they may not be so interested. So good luck. It's never easy. And, you know, it's not always the same for every child if you've got more than one child. And peculiarly, I was commenting on someone's message the other day. When we did our research 12 years ago, we found that often it was the second or third child that could be particularly difficult, and there's all sorts of reasons for that, but it's not a reflection on you as a parent. It's just how it is. You know, they're controlling their environment and there's siblings about, and you know, you're dividing your time up, and potty training has a clever way of making geniuses out of your children. They can skirt through the most complex of issues and, you know, sometimes make your life hell with it, so it seems, but that's why we're here, to help. So there you go. I hope that was all useful, and I will be posting another video next week.